Good evening. My name is Chidi Njoku, and my future career goals entail me obtaining my master's degree in nursing. I specifically want to delve into the area of nutrition and dietetics because that's what I'm interested in. The organ system of choice that I chose was the cardiovascular system. The specific pathology that I chose was cardiovascular disease, specifically CHF. So throughout my paper, I'll be discussing how one can obtain this disease, how it's treated, how it's prevented, and how it's managed. So specifically the cardiovascular system, most people think it just deals with the heart. Although the heart is a main component of the cardiovascular system, it is not the only component. The cardiovascular system also consists of blood vessels, the three types of blood vessels, the veins, the arteries, and the capillaries, their functions, and what they do to ensure that the cardiovascular system as a whole is working at optimum capacity. My paper also discusses the underlying symptoms that can cause CHF or other cardiovascular diseases. One being the most common, hypertension. Hypertension is one that you're going to see a lot in this paper because hypertension is one of the most common causes of cardiovascular diseases. So that's one that's going to be mentioned a lot. Yes, and another thing that's going to be mentioned a lot is the different treatments. Although the treatments, it's a long list of treatments from medication to surgery. Personally, I feel like self-care is one of the best treatments, hence why I want to specialize in the area of nutrition and dietetics when I do obtain my master's in nursing. I'm not opposed to modern medicine. I'm all here for the medication and the surgeries if it is needed. In the more severe cases, on the more severe side of the spectrum, if that's what is needed to treat the disease, by all means. But there are different things that one can do to prevent it from getting that far, aka self-care, which includes watching what you eat, watching your sodium intake, your physical activity, making sure you are having a sufficient amount of physical activity throughout your day, stress levels, alcohol consumption, all these things that people do in their daily lives can all play a role in preventing and avoiding these cardiovascular diseases. What else? The disease also being hereditary. I also discussed that although the disease is not a hereditary disease in itself, the underlying conditions that cause the disease, for example, hypertension or diabetes, those things are hereditary. But CHF in itself is not a hereditary disease. It is a chronic disease. These are all things that I hope readers gain from reading my paper, specifically the things that you can do to prevent and treat these diseases. I feel like that's one thing that I push a lot in my paper: prevention, ways to prevent the disease, because it's always easier to prevent a disease than treat it. So that's my thing. So prevention is one of the biggest things I would hope a reader would take away from my paper. As far as me writing it, I feel like I learned a lot. Some of the things I already knew because I have family members that suffer from hypertension, diabetes, and things like that. But from writing this paper, I learned quite a bit about CHF and the treatment options for it, surgery and the medications. Once again, I was already familiar with the self-care options of physical activity, watching what you eat, but as far as the surgery and the medication, all that was all new to me. So that research that I found was very interesting. So yeah, so I hope that that's one thing that my readers will also take away from reading this paper. So thank you for your time. I hope you enjoy the paper and have a good evening.